Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
What's going on, Cavs fans? Welcome to another episode of the Block the Shot to Stop, a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. And Kevin, we are here to talk about the winning ways of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It felt so good to get this win after
been so long. It's been so long.
Yeah, after you're doing well on the season if a 3-game skid feels like the sky is falling. Panic time.
Sure. I mean, by comparison, like it's their longest losing streak of the year, and they'd only had 1 2-game losing streak all year. So yeah, I mean, it's in NBA terms, it's not extreme, but by Cavs season standard, it is extreme.
Yeah, like I say it all the time. Like the other teams aren't an anomaly. Like they're having a normal NBA season. We are the anomaly with starting 15-0 and then a 12-0 run, and then they were 6-3 in that other span.
Yes. Yeah. And January overall has been a tough month, especially when you can compare it to the first 2.5 months of the season. But like tonight, frankly, is what I wanted to see. Just like a really solid performance, good execution. You taking care of a team they should take care of, and it was the way that the Cavs have won so many games. It starts out tight, they stretch the game out in the second quarter, they put the foot on the gas and open it up by the beginning of the fourth. It's pretty much what happened tonight. Didn't give Detroit a chance to get back in the game, and was really, really happy with the game tonight. And the biggest thing is it seems like forever since Evan Mobley and Jared Allen both had good games in the same game. It's only 6 games, and 4 of those Evan missed, but they had the loss of the Thunder. Evan missed 4 games, and then frankly, they were really bad against Houston on Saturday night. So it seems like forever again, just by comparison of the Cavs season, but it was so nice to see the two of them dominating the inside, back and forth.
I agree. And this is a team that can beat the Cavs. I mean, they are long, athletic, young guys. They kind of fit that mold. They have a lot of shooters on their wings. And with Harris and who else was there? That Malik Beasley. Guys that are decent shooters around the league. And then obviously you have Cade Cunningham, who is an all-star and deservedly so an all-star. It's good to see them beat a team that kind of gets marked as like a can beat you team. And I really like this Pistons team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, first of all, before we talk more Cavs, I didn't realize I'm wearing my work sweater, shift acronym with like 5 eyes. So if any of my coworkers are listening, shout out to our, shifties. Is that what we're going to call ourselves? I'll get a verdict on that tomorrow. But yeah, no, the Cavs, this was a very kind of professional performance to where this Pistons aren't a bottom feeder. They're in the playoffs right now, and they've had a really solid season. And so they are a team, and you're right, they have some of the types of players that seem to give the Cavs trouble, but the Cavs pretty much, held them in check for the most part tonight. The one thing before I forget, everybody in your thought, have Sam Merrill's body in your thoughts tonight, because that poor guy took an elbow to the face from Duran, and then took a shoulder to the face from Beef Stew. Also ended up on the ground a couple of times. I mean, dude, he deserves all the ice he gets after this game.
Yeah, he was laid out a couple of times tonight. Good Lord. I know this is a Cavs podcast, but one guy that I think would be a really good ad for this Detroit team is if they went and got Brandon Ingram.
They need another scorer. like for sure. Especially with Jaden Ivey out for the year, their offense is pretty much just Cade, and then hope you get contributions. They have like a lot of solid role players, but they don't have any other, top of the line playmaker scorers. I think he could be. I think that would be one of the ideal landing spots for Ingram if Detroit's interested and the Pelicans are interested in making a move. When Keith Smith was on last night, he made it seem like the Pelicans are shutting everything down, like they're not going to have the fire sale a lot of people thought they were.
Yeah, he said that they're not going to have a fire sale.
He thinks their asking price is very high for all their players. A lot of people thought this could be the time Zion gets traded. Everyone inquires about Herb Jones, even though he's hurt. And he said they'd go away. He said he could see Ingram getting traded, but the Pelicans were kind of asking for over market value for their players. Gotcha.
That's such an interesting avenue to take when you are last in the West.
Yeah, I think their thinking is this is just a bad luck season. Started out with everyone hurt. Let's run it back next year. But anyway, let's talk about the Cavs.
No, there was a game tonight.
Yes, right.
So where do you want to go? We can start with any of the starters. We could go off the bench. Where do you want to go?
I want to just pat myself on the back here because I don't get many things right, but I don't right on Blue Sky because I'm done with X. I'm a Skyer now. I don't know what we call a message on Sky. I don't know if it's a Sky or whatever. But just as the game was starting, I said the Cavs need somebody to kind of change the energy for this team after a tough stretch. My pick would be TJ Maxx, Ty Jerome, to kind of have a big game and kind of just kind of change the mojo for the team a little bit after their roughest stretch of the season. And Ty was fantastic tonight. He had 15 points on super efficient shooting, 3 assists, couple of rebounds, and was getting into Cade Cunningham. That was some of the most intense defense I've seen him play. And so was just really impressed with him. And I think when you're in a funk, that's what you need somebody to just kind of, whether it's making an unbelievable play or just bring, that extra level of energy. And I think a lot of times this season, Jerome's been the guy to do it.
Yeah. We talk about Jerome being the spark plug off the bench, and boy, howdy is he, especially with the short bench with no Okoro, no LeVert. I know, Jalen Tyson's been getting great minutes and earning these minutes. He's playing really well in these minutes. But those aren't forever. Those kind of go away as soon as these guys get back. So Ty Jerome has really been this catalyst for that bench unit. And he had that little funk there, but he seems to be getting out of it because was it the last game or the game before where he lit up?
Yeah, 2 games ago.
Two games ago.
Against Philly,
Yeah, he lit up Philly in the third and fourth quarter there. So he's getting his way back.
Yeah, no, I mean, totality of the season, Ty Jerome's been fantastic. Like you said, it's a small little stretch that he wasn't quite effective. It seems like he got his minutes cut during that stretch when everyone else was healthy. And now, the biggest thing is he steps up when it feels like they need him the most, like when they're down a couple of guys, when, things aren't flowing as well offensively as you'd like them to. He just seems to pick the right spots to have, really meaningful contributions for this team.
And like you said, it's not just scoring. It's not just assist numbers because relatively, 15 off the bench is good for anybody, really. But only 3 assists tonight. But like you said, he got on to Cade Cunningham. He really made it difficult for Cade. And he got 22 tonight, but to Cade's standards, where he's averaging almost 30 a night, that's pretty damn good.
No, Cade had an off night because of the Cavs' defensive effort. They don't have a lockdown defender that is the right, right size and athleticism to defend Cade. They defended him through pure effort and team defense tonight. I think this is one of those performances where things are going bad. The defense in particular has been really bad for 2-3 weeks now, and they dug in and gave a heck of an effort tonight.
Agreed. The next person I want to highlight is Max Strus, who's kind of getting more of those starting rotation minutes now with Dean Wade kind of on the day-to-day. He's really getting back into rhythm. being such a positive effect. He's plus 20. He actually led the Cavs in plus minus tonight. Only 10 points, but he's doing a lot more cutting to the rim. He's not just reliant on his 3-ball. 8 rebounds. Max Strus is getting 8 rebounds.
Yeah, and the rebounding had to have been an emphasis for Kenny because they have lost the rebounding advantage a lot more games than they've won it here recently. And tonight, 66 to 52 plus 14 in the rebounding department. And it was everybody rebounding. I mean, first and foremost, Mobley and Allen get you 25 between the two of them, which is right where you want. You want the two of them having double doubles and really, attacking the glass on both the offensive and defensive backboard. And then the rest of the team gang rebounding kind of above their position, if that makes sense. And I thought the way as aggressive and as focused as they were on the backboards, I guarantee that was an emphasis coming into this game.
Had to be. I mean, it just had to be an emphasis because they were getting out hustled in the past couple of games. So sure, Kenny made that a point of emphasis. They also, the 3-point shooting tonight, not great.
No.
12 for 44. But they didn't just rely on their 3-point ball because their field goal percentage, 44% on the night, 44 even, which is pretty great. So, kind of the efficiency that we're seeing because they took less shots than Detroit, but were able to hit them at a higher clip, not just the 3-ball, but just the shots in general. So you're kind of seeing that a rhythmic offense again.
No, 100%. This was not a great night of offense, especially by the Cavs standards. They won this game with defense and effort. The defense to only give up 91 points to a playoff team in the NBA is fantastic defense. And they did it not only by defense, but by the boards. This was definitely another below the standard shooting night. You could say a bad shooting night for the Cavs, but we talked about the rebounding advantage. They forced the action in a positive way to get 23 free throws to Detroit's 11, being a plus 12 in free throw attempts is a big way that you can win a game when you're shooting poorly. And just the effort plays, the intelligence, they had 4 less fouls than the Pistons did. They definitely seemed to get the Pistons pretty frustrated there at the end of the third, into the fourth quarter. I mean, a stiff breeze can frustrate Isaiah Stewart, but
that guy comes ready to fight.
Yes. But anyway, just really, that's I think why I'm not over the moon, but I'm excited and encouraged by this win tonight because they did not play their best game and they still won against a good team by 19 points.
Yeah, I'd agree. And, we talked about the kind of gauntlet that they're going to go through right now. I mean, Detroit is a playoff team. I had to pull up the schedule real quick, but it's 4 or 5, playoff team.
It's 6 in a row if you include tonight. They get Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Boston, and then Detroit again before 2 of their last 3 are against bottom of the standings teams in the East. But so you're playing 6 playoff teams in a row at a time where you're kind of struggling. Can you kind of put it together? And you don't have to go 6-0, but can you have a winning record during the stretch? Can you go 4-2 and start out the first one with a win is a good step in that direction. So and honestly, and I know we'll preview Miami soon, but you would think this is a prime time to play them with the amount of chaos that's going on there.
Yeah, goodness golly. We'll get into that, but
yes. But so back around the Cavs, I wanted to ask you about Evan Mobley, and because he, as we said, there was a 6-game stretch where he was either injured or played bad the last 6 games leading into tonight. Did tonight look like Evan was starting to get his mojo back, or was he just giving better effort? He only had 11 points on 4 of 9 shooting, but what did you see out of Evan tonight compared to what we've seen the last few games, compared to what we've seen over the course of the season?
I think he's not quite to what we've seen over the course of the season yet. I think just the past few games Honestly, I think was probably babying his calf injury a little, or just watching. So, not giving full effort, just trying to get his legs back under him to be comfortable playing, either dinged up or with this injury. So I think this was the first game just back in the comfort and the rhythm again, not kind of worrying about re-aggravating something or anything like that. It is the NBA. Guys get dinged up, and you got to, I mean, longevity is the key to getting to the end of the road.
Yeah.
It's being healthy enough and being available enough. But everybody's playing through stuff, especially Sam Merrill tomorrow or next game.
For sure. And I like, I'd love to see him kind of just every game get a little bit better back to it's, even missing 4 games, Russ can develop quickly for a basketball player where everything's about rhythm and repetition and everything. Right. So I'd like to see him that. And, something I read an article today. I wanted to, pass along to you and see what you thought of it. And it was about teams that make the NBA finals. Right. And what commonalities do they have? And the biggest common element that they had is they had really good middles of the season. Like if you break the season into thirds, which would be about 27 games, those middle 27 games, having a really good record in that stretch is the biggest indicator that you're going to have playoff success, deep runs in the playoffs. Because a lot of teams, they can start out really good and then they get injuries, blah, blah, blah. And then you would think everybody says you need momentum going into the playoffs, but momentum looks like in most cases, it's not really a thing. It was for Dallas last year, but the biggest indicator is how you're playing in the middle of the season, compared to the other teams in your conference on how good of odds or you would have to get the NBA finals. And so if we assume that's true, we're right in the middle of that 27 games now, and the Cavs were playing good when it started, rough right now, and then we have about 6 or 7 more games in this middle third of the season. So I don't know. I found that interesting, and I don't know if does that surprise you? Does that make sense to you? What do you think?
It surprises me. It surprises me in the sense of, usually if you have a bad first third, a good second third, and a pretty rough finish out, you're not finishing in the top echelon of playoff teams, so you probably aren't getting home court advantage. So that does surprise me that teams that make the finals really only have that good middle of the season stretch. That's super interesting to me, because I think this team, especially this Cavs team, probably needs home court advantage going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I said that with Keith last night, because I think there's 3 teams in the East that give them trouble. Atlanta, let's put them aside for whatever reason. But the other 2 are Boston and New York. And right now they're second and third in the standings. If the Cavs can hold on to the number 1 seed, they only have to play one of them at most. Maybe even they both get knocked off. But I think it would be a really hard gauntlet if the Cavs fell to 2 or 3. They'd end up getting Atlanta in the first round, then have to play New York or Boston in the second round, the other one in the third round. That would be really tough. And that's also not even saying that they have such a nice home court advantage. I think I really truly do, not even being a homer, think it's a top 5 in the NBA home court advantage. And so, for both matchup purposes and taking advantage of playing so well at home, I think it's more important to the Cavs to get the number 1 seed than any other team in the East that has a realistic chance of getting it.
I agree. I think they need it. In order to make the Eastern Conference Finals, they need the number 1 seed. Yeah. And that's not discrediting them at all. Obviously, you genuinely want your team to have a number 1 seed. But I think for their playoff success, they need it. And to be frank, I think they, so far, obviously, as the standings show, but they've earned it. They've played the best. So hopefully they can keep that going into the back half of the season, and just get back to winning basketball. And I wonder how much of I know they're professionals, I know it's part of the game, and I know all of them are multi-year been in the league multiple years. I wonder how much of this looming trade deadline kind of sits on these guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can. And, there are a few players on the Cavs that could be, rumored in trade. I mean, obviously none of the big four is getting traded, and there's even a couple other guys beyond them that can feel pretty safe. Max Strus, combination of both his contributions and his contracts probably leads him to being safe. But yeah, I mean, people are human beings. You see it in other sports all the time, particularly baseball. That I've actually read a study how players' performances, the worst 2-week stretch of the year is the last 2 weeks of July, right before the trade deadline. Yeah, because there's a mental aspect to the game.
Yeah.
Right? And they're human beings. So no, I think that's really fair. And I think the other thing is, like, the NBA season, like a lot of sports, is such a marathon that you're in the dead middle of the marathon. You have your one big break of the season, like, meaning like you have 8, 9, 10-day break, whatever it is, coming up in just a couple weeks. Like, you're just kind of like almost like just running on fumes trying to get to it. Right. But all that's to say, and to your point about just need to do winning basketball and the fact that the Cavs need the number 1 seed, which I completely agree with. They played so well and worked so hard to have that number 1 seed. I don't want them to go into the slump right before the All-Star break and have, all season they've had a 5-6 game lead in the East. All of a sudden it's 2 games at the All-Star break because they kind of limp into it. And then, Boston, New York, they're smelling blood that they can, make a run and jump the Cavs. So I really think, and we talked about it last episode, there were, including tonight, there was 9 games between there and All-Star break. Can you win 6? Can you win 7? And if you do that, you're probably maintaining at least like a 4-game-ish lead, and which is comfortable enough for that last sprint of the season coming out of the All-Star break.
I mean, knock on wood. Well, Tim said it 2 episodes ago. Thankfully, the Cavs are hitting this rough patch the same time the Celtics are hitting theirs. Mm-hmm. And knock on wood, the Celtics are only up 2 right now to the Rockets in the 4th quarter. So
yeah, Rockets.
Let's go Rockets.
Yeah, do us a favor after giving us 2 rough losses last week. I mean, at least pay us back a little bit.
Yeah, help us out.
Yeah, right. I'll even let go of the guy who made the nasty comments on the Rockets. Nasty comments.
The Shangoon owns us.
Yeah. No, and you're right. And really, and it really is just Boston and the Knicks. I mean, everybody else is double-digit games back. It's just too big of a lead for them to, unless the Cavs go totally in the tank, which nobody would imagine happening. I would love they currently have a 5-game lead. If they have a 5-game lead at the All-Star break, I'm feeling really good. It's about securing that number 1 seed. If it's more like 2 games, I'm not as confident.
I know. I'm trying to see like what the competition left after the All-Star break is. So let's see. You play Boston again.
Yeah.
Miami.
We had the Knicks right out of the All-Star break too, because I know we're doing a dual podcast with Big Nick Energy over the All-Star break to preview that game.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a great name for a pod.
It's such a good name.
John.
You got the Knicks, you got the Celtics, you got Memphis twice.
Yeah.
The Bucks, who are playing good now, but we'll see what they are in March.
Yeah.
And then
I think they're going to maintain. I think they're going to stay right in that 4 seed area. I don't think they're going to play well enough to jump into the top 3, but I don't see them sliding back either.
If they can make it to, I would say March 18th.
Okay.
If they can make it to March 18th with a 5-game lead over the Celtics, I feel good about the number 1 seed at the end of the year.
7 weeks from now.
Yeah. But then everything after that is like LA, Sacramento, Utah, Portland, San Antonio, LA. There is a New York game, San Antonio, Sacramento, Chicago. Pacers.
While I do think that's a very specific date and everything, I actually I agree with you in the sense that it would be so, because if they have a 5-game lead with about 3-4 weeks left in the season, Boston and New York are just gonna put on cruise and be like, fine, we'll be the 2nd or 3rd seed. It's more important to have our guys healthy, and then the Cavs can do the same. right?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you that if they can maintain the lead they have now going into the last month or so of the season, say the last like 12 to 15 games, probably 15 games, then that is the ideal, because not only do you get the number one seed, you kind of wrap it up early enough that you can get guys some rest, and go into the playoffs like on full cylinders.
It's ironic because the date that I gave was 15 games from the end of the season.
No, that's funny. But yeah, I mean, before we get there, like this stretch coming up, we'll preview some of that. We kind of talked about it overall, and I know I read off the teams, but the next 5 games are tough games, all playoff teams. A couple of teams, particularly in Atlanta and Boston, that always seem to give the Cavs a really hard game. But let's talk about Miami first, and let's give that. Where do you want to start with a preview for the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat?
Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, Jimmy Butler, as of today, has been suspended indefinitely from Miami.
Third suspension in the last month. Sorry, not to cut you.
Yeah, no, third suspension in the last month, but this one is just don't come back until we find you a trade partner.
Yes.
Don't
call us. We'll call you.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the first one was 7 games and then 2 games, and now just done.
Yes. They were trying to suspend him long enough that they could work out a trade, and then the trade didn't work out either the first 2 times, so now they're just sending him home.
Yeah, they're just like, we'll figure out where you're going. Just have your bags packed.
Yeah, it's. But even I will say is you would think that would, I don't know, completely derail their season, but they're still playing. They have had. I take it back. They were really good, kind of like the Cavs. They're really good in the first part of January, but they have lost 5 of their last 7 games coming into tonight. A couple of them kind of bad losses. They lost to Portland. They lost all their games on their West Coast trip, just about, and so maybe the drama of the season is finally catching up with that team.
It could be. It could be just a rough patch, because I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league.
Yes,
obviously. Yes. That's why he's been in Miami since LeBron. I think he's the only coach that LeBron hasn't killed.
It's true. I mean, you kind of say he didn't kill Ty Lue. I mean, Ty kind of moved on when LeBron did, but yeah. But yeah, he's definitely survived his job post having LeBron better than anybody, I would say.
Yeah, and what was it, 3 years ago they were in the finals? 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're a good team. Tyler Hero can get you. Bam can get you.
Yeah.
Who's the one kid that they got? The French kid, or French-looking kid.
Oh, Joker Light.
Joker Light? Is that what you're calling him?
Yeah, Nikola Jovic is his name.
Oh no, that's not who I was thinking.
Oh no, sorry, he's not French. He's Serbian. What am I saying? Yeah.
Who the hell am I thinking of? James Jaquez Jr. Or Jamie Jaquez.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they have some solid players, but if I'm being honest, this is a team the Cavs not only match up well against, but have pretty superior talents. Miami is a playoff team. Honestly, I think because of Spoelstra more than the player, more than the players in the performance. They have a lot of solid role players. Tyler Hero's having the best year of his career. He still can't guard a leaf in the breeze, but he is playing fantastic on the offensive end. This is Bam's worst season since maybe his first or second season in the league. He's still very good defensively, but really a lot less efficient than he normally is on the offensive end, even on the backboards a little bit. And beyond that, they're kind of, I mean, the team they remind me of a little bit is Brooklyn, which most people wouldn't want to hear, and the fact that they have a lot of like solid role players, but don't really have a star to throw in there and lead them. They have a lot of guys that would be useful on teams. Like there's a handful of guys I would love if they decide to tank to send to the Cavs to have off their bench.
Yeah,
but I don't think they have the kind of they have as high a caliber talent as most playoff NBA teams.
Yeah, I think they thought Jimmy was going to be that star to lead them.
Right.
And it worked for the past couple of years. It's not panning out this year.
Yeah.
To be fair, ESPN agrees with you. 72% Cavs, 28% Miami. In Miami. So they're really favoring the Cavs heavy.
Yeah, I just think this is a game that I think the Cavs are bad matchups pretty much all over the place for Miami. And I mean that because, Mitchell and Garland are quicker than pretty much any backcourt they play and are always going to have advantages. They're they especially have a good matchup against Miami. Miami does not have many or any guys that can really stay with guards of their caliber. And then at the same time, as much as, and I still like Bam, even though he's not having as good a year, I think, there's one of Bam and there's two on the Cavs and in Mobley and Allen that I think they can have an advantage on the inside as well. So I look for, I look for Garland and Mitchell to have big games offensively, scoring wise. And then I think much like tonight, Mobley and Allen can kind of own the paint on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I think hopefully we get the 2-game momentum, kind of get back to winning ways. You beat a team that beat you earlier in the season. And you have that momentum going into, what is it? Atlanta, where you go.
Oh, no, it's Atlanta and then Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you go beat another team that's beat you this year. So hopefully you just kind of have the taste for revenge on these guys.
Yeah. And I know, I don't know if Tim's saying it genuinely or poking at me, but I when I talk about schedule losses, I don't like the schedule beats the Cavs more than the Heat beat the Cavs the one time that they played. So I put nothing in that. That was like the last game of like 5 games in 8 nights or 7 and 10 or 11, something like that. It was the last game right before the NBA cut break. And the Cavs, it was as tired as I've seen them all season. So I don't really put a lot of stock in that. And if for no other reason, Jimmy Butler had a big game that game, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to have a big game on Wednesday.
Wemby seems to agree with you, because he said that the Cavs had a little more extracurricular activities in Miami that night, because they were at a Lil Wayne album party or something like that the night before, on top of that super long road trip. So
yeah,
I think they were okay with that loss.
Yeah. I would love to see him get another win, as you said, especially because after that, 2 of the next 3 are Atlanta and Boston. And I know some people are saying, like, why do you keep mentioning Atlanta? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but last time I looked, they'd won something like 3/4 of the games the two teams have played over the last 3 seasons.
It's just been a bad matchup.
Yeah, I want to say Atlanta's something like 7-3 against, or 7-2, something maybe 8-3, something like that against the Cavs the last 3 seasons. And it's just, they're not a better team. They're just a very bad matchup for them. And so that's kind of why I keep bringing up, like, I in no way think Atlanta's better. I just think they're just sometimes, a team with inferior talent is just a bad matchup for a team with superior talent.
And hope you don't see them in the playoffs.
Yes, I completely agree. They're the only team that they could potentially play in the first round, and hopefully even the second round, that I would worry about at all.
Well, yeah, hopefully maybe they tank their season, but I doubt it.
Yeah, they need to just like they are the opposite of just about any other NBA team. They need to just play all bottom of the standing teams, because they play to the level of their competition more than anyone in the NBA. And it's not just the Cavs. I think they're 2-1 against Boston this year.
They are.
They've beaten New York at least once that I remember in Madison Square Garden. So like when they play these top teams, they get up for it and they play really well. But then they play to the competition the other way too, and that's why they're about a 500 team.
All right. So with that, we'll get out of here. Everybody, please, subscribe to wherever you get podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, everything that's out there. We're on it. Feel free to subscribe and comment on the YouTubes. We love the comments. We love to interact with you guys. So yeah, with that, he's Kevin Lynch. Tim Daniel is taking a good old rest day. And Kevin, sign us off.
Go Cavs.